I just need to lock in. Hi, hello, welcome back. It's Saturday. It's somehow already almost 1 o'clock. I got up at like 11:30. I don't know where the last hour and a half went. And I have deadlines coming up real fast. So I have one on Monday, which is very soon. I'm not nearly as far along as I would like to be with the thing that I'm making for that. I'm fairly confident I should be able to pull it off in a day or two if I really just like focus and don't let myself get distracted and just like lock in. Like I said, I'm still waking up, hence no makeup, hair looks like crap, etc. We're being real over here. And then I have a deadline on the 15th for something else that I haven't started yet. I'm so good at time management. I also haven't made a video in a while. I've been recording a lot of footage, but I've just not been doing anything with it. I should probably try and do something with it. We'll see if I can get to that at some point later this week. At the very least, I think I am going to take all the footage off of my camera and put it on my computer so that I have more space on the camera to record. That sounds like a great idea. That's where we are. I have deadlines looming over me. I'm not nearly as far along in the processes for either as I would have liked to be at this point. So that's what I'm going to try and do today. I'm going to try and lock in and get at least the one thing for the deadline on Monday finished. And we'll go from there. And I don't really have a plan aside from that for today. So I have no reason to not lock in, get my shit together, and get these art pieces done. Or at least the one art piece. I know I also have tomorrow, but I do work tomorrow, so I'm not gonna, bank on having a lot of time tomorrow to get a lot of art stuff done, so we'll see. We'll see how much I get done today. I'm gonna transfer the footage first, and then we're gonna start recording B-roll and shit like that.
Javelin might leave your hand at about 70 feet per second, while a light dart launched from an ocelot can exceed 100. They are just a thin stick and the fletching is optional. This meant that hunters could bring multiple projectile glacial period and probably even making a couple dozen animals extinct along the way. But before we truly put this weapon to the test, I want to show you how you can make a simple one at home. First,
Okay, so apparently my microphone died while I was recording this next part. So I just have 15 minutes of dead footage, basically. I was basically just explaining my process for this because this project I'm approaching slightly differently. So it's like just far enough out of my usual wheelhouse that I needed to gather reference photos and stuff like that. So I was just talking about how I was using Obsidian to gather and collect everything and have it all just in one easy to reference place. Not sponsored or anything like that. So I just yapped about that for like 15 minutes apparently. And the audio didn't record. Which ultimately is a blessing because now I don't have to sit and listen to 15 minutes of audio and try to cut everything down. So, you find the silver linings where you can, I guess. So essentially, this segment just boils down to me gathering references for mining, since this project is for a local beautification initiative where they're going to put a bunch of art from local artists in empty shop windows in the downtown area and try and like spice it up a bit, showcase local beauty and history and stuff like that. And where I live, it's a former gold rush town out in the foothills, so there's a lot of like natural beauty. You know, Yosemite's day trip distance away, stuff like that. And so I figured a lot of people were going to go towards, you know, the nature in the area, the historic buildings and stuff like that. I didn't really expect a lot of people to do anything underground, essentially. Especially because it has been well proven in the past that I love making art that focuses on caves and stuff like that, since I made a whole little comic about cave art. So I figured a good way to make myself stand out would be to do something involving gold mining. So I was gathering references of different like mine shafts and how like the structures are set up. And then I had the realization that the piece that I'd already started on was the wrong kind of cave. So you'll see that it's got very distinct like stalactites and stalagmites. And that's not the sort of formation that I needed for the piece that I wanted to do. I don't know why I did that in the first place. I think just because it like looks really cool. And so I wanted to do something like that because you could get a lot of like interesting depth with a scene like that. But that was completely missing the mark. So I had to start over entirely. And apparently I was just yapping about it for 15 minutes. And now, because the audio didn't record, that's been cut down to about 3 minutes. Small victories. I was also rambling on a bit about how I was ever so slightly worried about, submitting a digital illustration, even though the rules stated that the only stipulations were no clip art and no generative AI art or anything like that, which obviously you'd see me drawing everything by hand here. I did no AI art whatsoever. Then I think that really summarizes everything that I was talking about in these segments. Again, the silver lining, I don't have to sit through 15 minutes worth of footage and, cut out the important bits and get rid of the rambling bits. But, the other side of the coin is I don't remember if there was anything else super important that I was talking about. Okay, I've gotten a pretty good chunk of the line art done. So, I feel like this is coming along pretty nicely. For as much effort as I put into my line work, especially now that I do all this like hatching and stuff to add more like depth and shading to it before I actually move on to colors. With this piece, unfortunately, a lot of like the impact is going to come at the coloring stage. Because I want it to be relatively dark. Obviously, we are underground. I do have one single candle right here. I'm thinking I might add some like old-timey lanterns or something coming down from these cross beams that are supporting the top of the mine. And then just like a couple other bits and bobs here along the sides when I go in and add all the other little details like the pickaxes and more support beams and stuff like that. The thing that I'm dreading the most actually is the track for the minecarts, because that, like, the whole piece involves perspective, obviously, as we're going, you know, further into the mine, and like it branches off because there's the one path going off over here and then there's one going back down here. But because I have to keep the tracks fairly consistent distance apart, I'm sure nobody would really notice if they weren't like super 100% perfect, but I'm picky like that. So I am kind of worried about that, but I feel like this is coming along pretty well, given that I had to basically start over. I am also recording a time lapse, so I'll have that to use in the background of another video. I've got several scripts in progress for other videos. So I've actually built up a pretty good habit of recording what I'm drawing. So I've got like a good backlog of time lapses of different pieces that I've been doing recently. But I'm really happy with how this one's turning out so far. I feel like the depth comes across pretty well. It feels like it's not really all that much right now because it is just like the structure of the cave. And like I said before, I want to do like little veins of gold coming up along all the... Obviously, I don't know if that's how an actual mine would look, but for the purposes of what I'm trying to do here and for the competition, it's fine. Nobody's gonna like nitpick something like that, and I think it would be really cool to have just like little tiny veins of gold and like little veins of quartz, because there's also a lot of quartz in this area. And so I think it'd be really cool to have just like a really like dark blue-ish tone to the overall piece, and then have these little veins of gold snaking down towards the little recess back here. I don't know. It looks really cool in my head. Hopefully I will be able to execute it the way that I want to. But I'm pretty happy with it so far. I think this is coming along great. Especially given that I feel like I am really not very good at drawing like rocks and stuff like that. Which I feel like that's a weird thing to say, because like there isn't any right or wrong way to draw natural objects like trees and rocks and stuff like that. I feel like I'm not really good at showing like the dimension and like the different planes that rocks can have. So I've got kind of a mix. Most of them are really like rounded and smooth, and then I have a couple that have more like jagged edges. I don't know. I don't think anybody's really going to be critiquing stuff like that. And especially once I go in and start adding all the color and everything, a lot of it's going to be fairly dark. So it won't be super, super obvious, but I don't know. It's coming along pretty good. I'm really happy with this so far. So after I filmed that section, I basically wrapped up work for the day, and I ended up doing a lot the next day despite having to work. You can see I finished the line arts, and then I went and did all the coloring and everything. And I did end up revising a little bit. The gold veins felt really thick in my first pass, so I ended up editing that a little bit. I made them a little bit thinner. It doesn't really look like it because of all the glowing effects that I added, but it's fine. That's what I ended up submitting. I will find out the results December 1st. And I also ended up finishing the art for the other deadline that I had too. I'm entering the SAC Anime Art Contests, and I wanted to do a shirt design. So I also somehow managed to finish a shirt design well in advance of the November 15th deadline for that one. So here we are. Everything's done. I did it. Yay. So that's it. I met my deadlines ahead of time for once. Good job, me. That's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it, as always. If you would like to be notified of my next video, please subscribe and turn on notifications because I don't have a schedule. I just kind of post whenever. Most reliable way to stay on top of that is to subscribe and or join my Patreon. Normally I'd insert a little bit about like webcomic updates and stuff like that, but we finished the updates for this year. We're basically done with webcomic stuff for 2025. I am going to be doing like behind the scenes stuff there though, so if that's of any interest, please check it out. Link is in the description box, as are links to everything else. I will see you next time. Bye. I was about to lose it because I distinctly remembered recording an intro for this video, and then I couldn't find it with my files, and I forgot that one of the very first things I did for this video was I transferred a bunch of stuff from my camera to my computer because I was running out of space on this thing. And the intro probably got put in that folder. And I was right. And I got all upset and worked up over nothing because I'm a dumbass like that. But it's fine. We're fine. Crisis averted. I'm gonna use this spite to edit